Story number one. Superhero movies are done. What's next? And then some. I didn't make that right at first, but I felt I'd continue going with it. So yeah, man, superhero movies. They're falling off the cart. Marvel's screwing around, DC screwing around. We thought somebody might come up from Image. Nope. We thought somebody might come up from Valiant. Hell no. So yeah, it looks like we might
Malar
be.
World. We thought Malar World was going to
Oh
take off
God,
on Netflix.
man,
I still ride for Jupiter's Legacy, but no comment.
ride straight into a tree, man. That's the Jupiter's legacy. Jupiter's nuts. I just, oh man, I'm actually more mad at it than I am in
Aw,
the feeling that it was a bad show. I didn't think
yeah.
that at all. But I'm just more mad at that they didn't bring it together like they could have. Anyway,
They probably should have
um,
started with Nemesis. Nemesis is a better story, in my opinion, but no.
yeah. Hey, you know what? Yeah, I didn't think about it, but I'm going to put this down as another category because we have couple categories here. So I'm going to put this down as another one. Yeah, there we go. All right, I'll explain that in a second. I just typed it in the. But yeah, so I thought about this. What categories could we be looking at for the new live action, the new, I said live action because of anime, the new, what's going to be the new big thing? And I'm supposing it's going to be some version of something. And it could be live action anime. We start getting a new superhero thing from live action anime or pirate movies. We could go into the whole pirates could be a thing. We didn't think I mean, there are these genres that just pop out, and people are talking about how well Pirates of the Caribbean did. Maybe there's more that needs to come down the line. We just saw One Piece. Maybe there's some sword and sandal movies coming back. Maybe rom coms are going to make a big thing. It's probably not going to be expected until after it happens. Then everybody's going to say, "Oh yeah, I knew that was going to happen." Sci-fi. Maybe there's another sci-fi property out there that's suddenly going to pop off and make everything really just snap together. I don't know. Or reality TV is gonna make a new type of entree into the world. But one thing that I thought of that was an interesting one, I wanna add it to the mix, and we can discuss a little. What if we had, like, the '80s, '90s cartoons, sitcoms or whatever, and we reintroduced them in a new live action way? I'm not even talking about a genre, just the concept of taking stuff that we would have liked to have seen in live action and make it live action. Ben 10 live action, and after that, it's Care Bears live action, Jason the Wheeled Warrior live action. All those '80s hits, man. What do you think?
We're going to talk about Hot Wing again.
That damn Hot Wing,
Okay. From
Silverhawks.
Silverhawk. I'll start there first. We already did it with Transformers, right? They just had their 4 live action. They still did pretty decent. Didn't do a billion like the other ones did, but did pretty decent. So they'll probably have another one. And spoiler alert, if you haven't seen it yet, the last was it Rise of the Beast Transformers movie. They introduced G.I. Joe. They already had live action G.I. Joe, like 2 versions of it. Now they're gonna do probably there was a backdoor pilot in a movie to
Yeah.
a G.I. Joe, franchise again. So 80s cartoons at its finest. So yeah, I definitely could see that still going. I mean, and then to be fair, you saw Barbie take off, right? I mean, that wasn't so
Yep.
much. We didn't talk about that, but I think the toy genre is probably the hottest now. Barbie's the biggest movie of the year now, followed by Mario Brothers, another game. So toys and games could be a whole new genre. We talked about Hasbro and how they're coming up. They got like assembly line of movies that they're ready. They're lined up. That Uno movie, man, I'm so hyped for it. I'm
Uno
ready
movie,
for it.
Polly Pockets in the running, Barney movie. Don't trip.
Hey, they're ready, man. They're ready. So anyway, so that's the one that they're probably gonna try to push more. But yeah, man, we're in an interesting time, right? The strike is still going on. There was some rumors that was going to end on Friday night, and as we record this on a Saturday in late September. But yeah, man, this strike is probably going to delay a lot of projects over the next couple of months. I don't know, man. Like I said, something's going to have to change when this comes back. I think the superhero movies have seen drastic turnover. So we look at this list here. I talked about games, video games, we talked about toys, sci-fi. The thing I question about sci-fi, Mr. Benja, there's some good sci-fi already on TV. Apple TV is spending, looks like at least $100 million on that Foundation show. I don't know if you watched it, but
Mhm.
the the things that went into it, the CGI that's going into that is huge, man. And then if you watch Ashoka, have you been watching Ashoka or seen some stuff on it?
I need some time to just take Disney back in again. I'm gonna do it, but yeah, I haven't. Go ahead though.
The point I'm trying to make is they just had a big show recently and they had a galactic starship. It was like you thought you saw a movie, man. It wasn't just the long form when they began Star
Yeah,
Wars, they had that long shot of the Star Cruiser just overhead. No, it was like extended shot and they had all the stormtroopers and all this stuff. I'm like, dude, that had to cost a pretty penny. So why am I going to movies when I can just watch this at home? So
yeah,
anyway, that's my point about sci-fi movies. I think the only big budget one sci-fi has been Dune, and they're
yeah,
delaying that again. If I go back up your list, rom-com, I don't know, man. That it's hard to get people to pay money to go see rom-com movies when there's so many on Lifetime. or
yeah. I did say movies, but I said superhero movies are done. I wasn't necessarily saying that we need to be focused on movies though, because that's like another discussion. I don't know if we're considering just, hey, screw movies, we can watch all these from home. And I was just wondering what's the next big thing. I don't know. And that does the
yeah,
next
to
big thing
me,
have to have movies?
good point. Good point. The conception of when Avengers Endgame came out, that was like the big movie of the year. And that was a culmination of 20 years of building, not 20 years, but 20 films or so to build out this whole storyline for it. It's been sputtering ever since. And Marvel created this whole genre, this universe, right? The MCU, and everybody's trying to emulate that, but no one's been able to create it. And to be honest with you, Marvel is starting to stutter, right? And I think it's probably starting to stutter because or what's happening in TV. There's just too much product out. So yeah, to your point, I think the movies drive a lot of this. When you say what's the next big thing, Barbie is the biggest movie about Barbie. You probably didn't watch it, but that was a big thing. Mario Bros. Is a big thing, right? Because I do feel like yes, there's a big show on TV like The Last of Us. Sure, people enjoy it, but it's not. If it blew up on a movie, I think there's a big. This it's almost like a prestige thing. I'm a movie star versus a TV star, a streaming star.
Yeah,
Yes, it's a hot show, but if Stranger Things was a movie, I think all those kids would be doing way more stuff.
yeah, yeah,
This is a little separate class to movie stardom. But anyway, real quick, just to finish out this list, rom com. I doubt that. We talked about this interesting concept Netflix came up with called Choose Love, which is and they call it interactive movie. I think you and I call it Choose Your Own Adventure type movies
yeah.
like Bandersnatch. And it's weird. She's got 3 different guys that she can choose from, and guess what? You get to choose who she ends up with. There you go. That's the Choose Your Own Adventure.
There's actually a subset of video games that are incredibly cheap but make a lot of money, and it's that type of they they're called dating sim games, and they're incredibly annoying. I actually bought a couple off of Steam just to find out, it's, "Oh god, okay, I'm hearing about these again. Let me play through these," and they've
Wait a
got
minute, is this recent? This is taken off recently, or has it always been there?
no, it's been
These
there in the
games
wings. If you go to an airport, you see all the romance novels, you're like, "Who is buying this shit?" And that shit's being bought. Yeah, yeah, it can totally happen with the choose your own adventure, but where they're just out there, where they're not really popping off. I see what you're saying.
Mhm. Sword and Sandal, sure. I remember Gladiator, that was a big thing in the early 2000s, and they had a bunch back to back. We'll see how
Spartacus.
that yeah, Spartacus. Oh, man, that was a great show. I always talk about that show. But, yeah, stuff like that could take off. And you remember Hollywood in the early when it first started, that was like the big thing, Ben-Hur, because
Mhm.
this big spectacle, and that was something that Hollywood went into. But, yeah, man, I think that the one in the running in pirate movies, sure. I think we'll see. I always thought it was weird in a world where there were superheroes and what's that? Damn, I'm drawing a blank now. Watchmen. Remember Watchmen in the
Yeah,
world, if there were superheroes, guess the genre that people loved was pirates. So I thought that was an interesting concept because remember there was a
yeah,
whole
yeah.
storyline where the guy was reading a comic book about pirates.
Yep.
So that I thought that was interesting. So maybe pirates are next, according to Watchmen. But really, I think anime, man, I think that's gonna be the next one. We saw the different attempts live action anime that you probably noticed more than me. Crunchyroll, they're always putting out movies out there and they do well in
Yeah,
movie theaters. Like I said, being an anime fan is almost like being what a kid is about. Because my kids, they never knew anything about One Piece, but guess what? They knew about it because they were on Roblox and they saw the stuff, the different cities and the Batier or the Bartier or the where they all met. Yeah, they already knew the concepts, so they just didn't know where it was from. So my son said, "Oh yeah, I've been there before. I knew about devil fruit." I was like, "How'd you know all that?" He was 7 years old, right?
yeah.
Roblox. So I think anime is just has just been ingrained into the culture of the younger generation. So I think that has a shot to take over if they really get the live action piece done and really see a lot more great movies. Fist of the North Star.
Yeah, you know what? I honestly think that it's going to take that, Hollywood muscle. It's this weird game that Hollywood has to play where they have to take control of it in a way that they can capitalize on it, because if they just make anime blow up and then all of a sudden Hollywood shifts over to Japan, they can't have that. So, they've gotta do what they did with One Piece where it's, "Okay, we'll bring everything over there, over here, and then we'll grow it over here, and we'll still give you guys props, but it'll be known that we made this happen." And
Good point.
it's this weird game, and I think it could be the play, man. Because once again, you take it back to the '80s. This is what happened when they brought over Robotech. They're like, "Yeah, we can push Robotech because it's a really good show, but we're just gonna take the styling and the effort you put into it, and we're gonna make this thing called G.I. Joe. We're gonna try to take some of the styling and put it into Thundercats. We're gonna take some of your animation techniques that we've all learned and put it into Silverhawks and everything else, but we're gonna make it our style. And once we get that, we'll say, 'Thank you very much,' and run off with a bunch of money." Shout out to filmmaking.
That's true. That's Hollywood one on one. But and like you're right, the showrunner, right? The one of the showrunners, he's US based. He was on TV shows, so they know what they're doing. International cast, which I like, joy from all over the world, but it's definitely you can tell it's the US sensibilities in there. So shout out to them.
Oregano is for savages. Yes. Those are
How
one
about Sanjay? Yeah, I know, I
those are one of my
know.
favorite lines. I just love that.